So Putin has mounted a major campaign against Avdifca, been bombing the hell out of it, and in the end it fell. What's actually the position today, Sean?
Well, it's big news, hasn't it? Because I think largely because Russia's been on the back foot for the last year. We were talking a lot about the spring offensive from last year. Didn't start till late, but all the anticipation was about Ukraine being on the front foot, and Russia has been therefore on the back foot. Yet for the last 4 months, Russian forces have been pounding away at this small. It's called a city. It's about 30,000 strong, but it's actually relatively small. And even the Russian Air Force has been involved, which we've not really seen it involve much to date, largely probably because Avdivka is not that far away from the Russian border, and therefore the Russian Air Force can still hide in the sanctuary of Russian airspace. But we heard earlier this week that finally the Ukrainian forces withdrew, largely because there was a sort of a pincer movement around the outside that was gradually going to isolate the Ukrainian forces, and they could have lost some of their most experienced battle-hardened soldiers. So it seemed to make sense they came out. The Russian forces massively overmatched those in Ukraine. There were talk about 10-1, i.e. 10 times as many Russian forces as there were Ukrainians. And even though it's winter, and I know that's obvious, but it's minus loads out there. It's festeringly cold. There's no ground cover, there's no leaves, there's no bushes, so it's quite difficult to get cover, and you can't dig trenches very easily because the ground is frozen. So by all accounts, Russia paid a huge price in terms of casualties for seizing that city.
And is it strategic in any way, or is it sending big news back home? I mean, why for such what apparently might seem so small, why put so much effort into it?
Yeah, so either it's, a breakthrough point, like sort of a crack in a dam, you push that and suddenly you push a load of Russian forces further in, deeper into Ukraine. I think that was one of the worries. Most Western analysts, including, I think, some very well-informed sources, including the Institute of Studies for War and others, say neither Russia nor Ukraine have got the resources at the moment to do any really big muscle movements on the battlefields anytime soon. So the question is why? And part of that does seem to be because Russia's been on the back foot. The 2-year anniversary of the invasion comes up on this weekend on Saturday, so about the time this podcast will go out. And so a moral component of this to give Russian forces a boost, but also it's the Russian presidential elections coming up. Why does it matter? Putin will get elected anyway. Well, it probably does matter because there's a lot of bad news that have been coming out, huge number of casualties, not much sign of progress. Whereas now, Putin has been lauding the fact that he's had a victory. General Gerasimov has been seen handing out medals. That's the head of the Russian military. So it's undoubtedly really, really key. And I think it puts Ukraine in a very difficult position in terms of next steps, because it's lost a bit of momentum, it's lost a key city, and the question is really, which has been resonating around the West, is that because Russia just wanted it so badly and was prepared to pay whatever it cost, or was it the lack of support by the West for Ukraine, running out of weapons, having no choice but to withdraw?